Hey, welcome to the second episode for this week. Once again, because I got lazy. This is Thursday, so that means it's Tarot Thursday. Welcome to our Mystic Road Trip. This is a podcast where I take you along my journey, along my path, trying to figure out what sticks and really learn and dive deeper into things not only I know, but things I don't know, and really checking things out. If you're into that, mystical, spiritual, magical, wellness, all that kind of stuff, anything most people label woo-woo, then this is a great place for you. My name is Kim. I am a tarot reader, an astrologer, a meditation guide, spiritual wellness coach, all that kind of good stuff, because I do find my passion in there, and I do find peace and calm, and it makes my life much more bearable than it used to be. So, wow, that got dark real quick. Anyways, if you're into that stuff, then welcome. I love to have you here. As I said, today is Thursday. This is the second episode of Thursday, but it is the third episode of the week. I do one episode typically on Mondays and one on Thursdays. Mondays are more about magical stuff. So if you're into that, check it out. This week I did a really killer podcast. I'm really proud of it, about taking the hero's journey that is used in fables and myths and equating it out to your spiritual growth journey. And I think I'm really proud of it. So I would suggest you go check it out. It's pretty badass. That being said, this is Thursday, so as I said, it is tarot. Today we are going to be looking at another card from the Swords suit, the Eight of Swords. And yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. But before we do that, of course, we have to do some house cleaning and some shameless plugging. First off, if you want to reach out to me, there is ways to do that. I've got Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, so you can check that out. If you don't rock the socials, because I know there are some people out there that have made that decision, I also have an email, so you can always reach out to me there. If you want to support the podcast, like, comment, share, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. The more you engage with the algorithm, the more the algorithm says, hey, she is not just talking to the void. There's people that want to listen. Maybe there's other people that would like to listen. Let's show them her stuff too. And I'd appreciate that. If you do want to kick a little cash my way, you can do that. I have a Buy Me a Coffee and a Patreon. There you can purchase my services. I do tarot reads and astrology reads. Soon there will be life coaching and other options up there. But for now, you have tarot and astrology. So if you would like to purchase one of my reads, please feel free to go over there and check it out. Much appreciated. If you want more information on this and so much more, check out my Medium publication. I am a writer by trade, so therefore definitely going to have a publication. And if you're into women history and feminism, then check out my other podcast. It's called Where All the Ladies At. I basically talk about some badass ladies in history that either people have rewritten, overlooked, or just never talked about that much at all. So check it out if that's something you're into. And that is it for the shameless plugging and the housekeeping. So now we can jump into the Eight of Swords. So here's the thing, guys. This card kind of talks about confronting your inner bindings, right? Really trying to figure out where the liberation comes from and where it lies within, right? So if you just listened to the last podcast, this Seven of Swords was about trying to focus on why you're choosing to do these things, whether they be upright or not. And the Eight of Swords comes after this, right? So if you look at the visuals, once again, PSA, public service announcement, when I'm talking about the images, I'm talking about the traditional images from the traditional deck. In that case, the one I'm referencing is the Rider-Waite, because it's the oldest one I know of, and it's the one that I know the best. And also, when I'm talking about reading it in reverse, I'm also talking about the traditional ideas behind that. So, that being said, let's go. So, on the card, you're going to see a lone woman, right? She's blindfolded and bound, standing in the middle of Eight Swords, right? And they're planted firmly in the ground around her, like jagged little metallic fence, right? Above her stretches a really gray sky. And the earth beneath her feet is kind of broken and barren, right? It's not very comfortable. You can tell it's not comfortable to stand on, right? In the distance, you can see a castle, it rises, and that's like a symbol of security and sanctuary, but it's just out of reach, right? This isn't a scene from a medieval soap opera, right? This is like mental entrapment, right? Every part of this images hums with that meaning, right? You are holding yourself, right? So let's break down some of those symbologies a little bit, right? So you have the blindfold. It's not about being in the dark. It's about choosing not to see, right? Staying in your comfort zone. Even if it's uncomfortable, right? So there's so many times that we as people stay in a situation because it's comfortable and it's known, even if it's bad for us, right? You really have to step out of that comfort zone, and that can be scary. So in this card, the blindfold is saying that's what you're doing to yourself. You're keeping yourself in a state where you're comfortable and you know things, but it's not really comfortable for you anymore, right? The bindings also talk about the stories we tell ourselves, right? I can't, I'm stuck, there's no way out, right? And most times those stories aren't chains welded shut. They are breakable. We just have to break them, right? But sometimes we don't think we have the power, and I understand that. And what I'm not saying that like everybody is wrong that stays in a situation where they're not comfortable. I'm just saying there are ways out. Sometimes we just can't see them, and sometimes we blind ourselves even when we do know that there's ways out, right? The swords are kind of standing tall, right? They're basically referencing fears and doubts, right? They're not forming a solid wall. There's gaps wide enough for us to walk through if we could remove the blindfold and see them, right? And really trust ourselves to take that step. So the takeaway from this is that her captivity, this woman's captivity, our captivity, whoever gets this card's captivity, is very much an illusion, and it's carefully crafted to keep us there. The tools for freedom are at hand, right? She just has to be willing to believe that they're there, and right now she's not, right? So if we take that and we go into numerology, it's actually a pretty powerful number, right? It's number 8. Power, balance, cycles, karma. It's that good old cosmic law of what goes around comes around, right? What you put out into the world, you get back. If you turn the 8 sideways, it's the infinity symbol, right? So it's an endless loop. There's an eternal flow. It's all about strength and resilience, right? But you have to understand that nothing truly is one and done. Everything comes back around, right? When the 8 pops up, it kind of throws that little cosmic wrench into the smooth cycle, right? Your power is still there, right? But you're keeping your power tied up. That's what this card is saying. You are doing it to yourself. Nobody else is doing it, right? There might be situations that are causing you to feel that way, but here's where I might get in trouble. The reaction you have is not the other person's responsibility. You do that to yourself. And sometimes that's hard, right? And I know there's situations. By no means am I talking about situations where you're in an abusive situation or anything like that. Please don't think about that. But I am saying that for the most of us that aren't in extreme situations, we keep ourselves in those situations because we're scared, because we don't know what to do or how to, whatever it is, right? And so I say, instead of fighting that, energy, you need to step into it. Ask yourself, what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if it's safer not to try? All those sound familiar, right? That's what you're asking yourself. Here's the thing. The 8 of Swords is really saying, hey, you've been here before and you'll be here again unless you make a different choice, right? It's really asking you, it's inviting you, it's warning you that the cycles of these limitations in your life are largely self-made. It's the first act of true power is really to recognize you built that cage and you can tear it down. Now, you may have built that cage for a reason. I want to preface this because I don't want anybody to think I'm coming off cold and harsh. You may have built that cage for a reason, right? You may have felt you needed that security. You needed that confinement, right? Because things were happening, whatever it was. In the end, though, you built it. And you're the one that can tear it down. So that's what this card is saying. That's what the number 8 is saying. That's what the card itself is saying, right? If we take that one step further and we look at elemental and astrological correspondence, of course it's with the air, right? So intellectual communication, perception, right? We've talked about this over and over again. So you have created, the mental state you have is what has caused you to create this, right? Astrologically, this card is tied to Gemini. And here's the thing. I love me a Gemini. No, really, I do. I love a Gemini. They are speed talkers. They are a little bit of tricksters. They can bring a constant restless duality, right? 2 choices, 2 perspectives, 2 what ifs, all these things, right? In traditions, in some traditions, the 8 of Swords is also associated with Jupiter in Gemini, making it even more defined, right? And this is where it kind of gets a little interesting, right? Because Jupiter wants to expand, explore, and go big, right? Gemini wants to analyze and question and pick apart, right? Every detail. Geminis, that's what they do, right? They're filtering through, trying to find all the glitter, right? And the result of that is a lot of mental traffic that jams you up and thinking too much, because sometimes thinking too much becomes the real trap, right? The thing here is the universe is trying to say it's not about choosing between the big picture dreams and small pictures, right? It's about learning when to zoom out, when to zoom in, and most importantly, when to put the magnifyings down and just move. Because sometimes overthinking things causes paralysis, right? It causes you to stay in a situation that you're not happy in, right? It causes you to not choose something that might make you happy, or not even might make it, you'll be happy, you'll be in a better place, but because you have all these thoughts in your head, you don't make that choose. You choose to stay in the box. You choose to, whether that's you're staying with someone that you're not happy with, instead of choosing someone you love, whether that's staying in a job that you don't feel passionate about, whatever it is, you're choosing to stay in that situation because A, you feel that you're not, you feel you're not good enough for anything else, you don't deserve that other thing, or B, you're scared, this is comfortable for you, it's what you've known, or maybe A and B, maybe C, all of the above, right? So I think that's really important to know. Now, when we're reading it, right, we've talked about what it means upright, right? You feel stuck. It's a mental mirage, right? Mental paralysis, victim mentality, self-limiting narratives. All 3 of those things could keep you in this situation, right? Could keep you staying with that person you don't really love, that just maybe makes you feel comfortable because it's something you know, right? Whatever, staying in the job that doesn't treat you right because you know the job and you're scared to try something new. All these things happen, and that's what this card upright means. Now, when it's in the reversed, in the traditional way, because reverse typically means kind of the opposite, right? It's talking about freedom. You got freedom. The blindfold is going to fall away. You're going to start seeing opportunities instead of obstacles, right? The bindings are going to slip off. You're going to stop waiting for permission to live your life. You're really going to realize the power of thought you thought was lost was actually just sitting there right in front of you the whole time, waiting for you to kind of like wake up and notice, right? It's beautiful. And sometimes this could be emotional moments of breakthrough, self-trust, moving forward, all that stuff. It's really a great thing. And that's how it would be interpreted going if it was reversed traditionally. Now, let's go into a little bit more of correspondences, right? So, the Ace of Swords is freedom. Look, the energy of the sword is to not just think about freedom, but actually feel it, right? You've got And there's a lot of ways you can do that, right? So if we're talking about crystals, I'm gonna choose lapis lazuli and amethyst, right? Lapis lazuli is it cuts through illusion, it cuts through self-deception, it can help you connect with your deeper wisdom. So when you're feeling stuck or in paralysis, it can help you kind of find that inner voice, if you're willing to listen. Amethyst clears out the cobwebs, right? Amethyst dissolves mental fog and really helps you attune to your higher self. It's a pretty awesome thing. With those, like I said, you could have crystals around your house. You could carry crystals on you, wear crystal jewelry, whatever it is that works for you. Herbal wise, I picked 2 again, lavender and sage. And sage is very evident, right? Sage is like a spiritual broom. It gets rid of all stuck energy and sweeps like negative thoughts out, like all that kind of stuff, right? Lavender kind of soothes the mind, right? It quiets the racing thoughts. It creates space inside for like nuclear things. It helps you sleep better. And sometimes if you sleep better in mental thought, right? So a cup of lavender tea or like lavender oil or lavender spray, all that would be great. Deities wise, I chose 2 as well. I chose Athena and Odin. If you can tell, I don't really abide by picking the gods per my path. Once again, I'll repeat, I follow the Celtic path. Neither one of these are Celtic gods, but the energies of them really sing to me, right? And honestly, you can find correlations most of the time, and this may get me in trouble. In every mythology, you can find a correlating god or goddess, right? I just want to make these more acceptable, and I don't want to keep forcing and force-feeding my Celtic mythology down and gods and goddesses down your throat. So I chose Athena. And then she doesn't charge in with a swinging sword, right? She's the thinker. She's a war goddess, but she's more about strategic war, right? So if you need to make decisions from a place of clear thought, she's a great goddess to reach out to. Odin, right? He sacrificed his eye for wisdom, and true sight he kind of says true sight often requires sacrifice, right? So you have to let go of comfort, certainty, your ego. Working with him, you could like really vulnerability and surrender you can learn vulnerability and surrender aren't weaknesses. They're actually keys to seeing things very clearly, right? Colors wise, I also chose 2. I chose gray and blue. Gray is neutrality, so it's really a reminder that often truth lies in between, right? I always say and this is something I learned, and I forget who actually said it originally, but I really love it, and it's the best thing. There's three truths. There's your truth, it's their truth, and there's the truth that comes in between. And most of the time, the real truth, is a little bit of both yours and their perspective, right? And being able to see that gray area and utilize it really is amazing. Blue, it's a communication. It helps with honesty and authenticity and helping you speak your truth. It's really an energy that calms you, and it kind of helps you tell your inner stories with more compassion, right? And reward the ones that don't serve you, so you can wear those colors and all that kind of stuff. I hope these are helping you. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to incorporate this into daily mindfulness. Now, let's say you pulled it, right? It's, but how are you going to use the energy to reshape, right? So let's say you pull this morning reflection. Maybe you need to reflect on what the story is you're telling yourself today, and which ones might not be true, right? You can journal what surfaces. I'm a big journal fan, right? Meditation is also good. Maybe meditating on the same thing, right? Do a simple like guided meditation, and if you want guided meditation, I will be having those up in the next couple of weeks over on my Patreon and my Buy Me a Coffee. So if that'll help you. You can do affirmations. There's wonderful affirmations out there, just find the one that works for you. Like, I am free to choose my path, my thoughts empower me, whatever it does. And then say it loud, say it out, repeat it whenever you start to have those little thoughts creeping in, because if you're anything like me, that's the only way affirmations work. Because I can say them in the morning all day long and I can write them, but then during the day something will happen and my little voice in my head will start saying other things, and then I have to repeat them. So that's the only way it works. And then maybe taking an evening review. So I journal in the evenings. I used to journal in the mornings, And that's a great way, but I prefer to meditate in the morning and then journal at night, because then I can do an evening review. I can self-reflect on the day and really kind of see where I made decisions that maybe, and really kind of dissect the things and really get in touch with that. And for me, that works out better. Maybe it might work out for you as well. So that is it for the Eight of Swords. I hope you enjoyed. I really enjoyed talking about it. We're almost through with the swords. I don't know which one I'm going to do next. I think maybe Wands. I'm not sure. We'll see. I hope you enjoyed. As always, if you want to reach out to me, you can do that through my social media and all that. There's in the description box. If you want to support the podcast, like, comment, share, follow, or subscribe, do all that good stuff. Anything to help get me out there into the universe and the algorithm. If you want to kick a little cash my way, like I said, you can take a look at my Patreon and my Buy Me a Coffee and, purchase my services. Or if you want to just donate, that's fine too. Whatever you do is fine. If you want more information, check out my Medium publication. And if you want, if you're into history, women, and feminism, check out my other podcast. It's called Where All the Ladies At. That's it for this, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you next week. I promise I will be not lazy. As always, guys, stay safe, stay curious, stay blessed. Bye.